depression isn't all in your head. So let's go ahead and challenge a sacred cow. What if depression isn't just a serotonin imbalance? What if it's a symptom of metabolic dysfunction inside the brain, inside here? Because for many people, depression doesn't start with trauma or low self esteem. It starts with something much, much more invisible: insulin resistance, inflammation, and mitochondrial breakdown. And that changes everything. Welcome to episode 88 of the Obesity Project. My name is Dr. Mark Shankman. I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon that absolutely wants to get to the root cause of what's going on here, what's going on in diet, nutrition, insulin resistance, all the complications of insulin resistance, including type 2 diabetes and everything else, heart disease, cancer, all of that. And so today we're focused on depression. So first off, depression isn't just in your head, it's in your metabolism. There was a study out of BMC Psychiatry in 2020 that showed that patients with major depressive disorder have much higher rates of insulin resistance, even when they're not diabetic. And there was an article in Frontiers in Endocrinology in 2022 that found that inflammation and oxidative stress markers are elevated in patients with treatment-resistant depression. So inflammation and oxidative stress are the two hallmark signs of insulin resistance, other than the obvious like elevated insulin levels and high blood glucose levels, but the early stages. And these are patients with treatment-resistant depression. So nothing worked for these patients, yet a diet actually can make a difference. So as an analogy, imagine trying to run your house on faulty wiring. The lights flicker, things shut down, and no matter how many light bulbs you replace, the power just isn't reaching the switch. And that's what depression looks like when it's of a metabolic cause. All right, so let's talk about the three metabolic roots of depression. First off, insulin resistance. So insulin resistance in the brain. The brain, it consumes 20% of our entire energy need or load, yet it's a much smaller component of our total body weight. And if insulin is high and signaling is broken, neurons can't take up that glucose. So what is the result of this? Well, it's cellular energy starvation, which leads to or causes brain fog, fatigue, and low mood. So the second thing that we need to talk about is chronic inflammation and cytokines. So inflammatory cytokines like interleukin 6 and TNF alpha, tumor necrosing factor alpha, cross the blood-brain barrier. So they get into the brain, these inflammatory cytokines, these inflammatory mediators, chemicals that cause inflammation. They blunt dopamine, lower serotonin levels, and disrupt neurogenesis, the creation of new nerve cells. And there was a study in molecular psychiatry in 2015 that talks about inflammatory markers being the predictive, let's try that again. Inflammatory markers are predictive of antidepressant non-response, so no response to antidepressant medications. Also, thirdly, that you get mitochondrial dysfunction. So your mood depends on ATP, which is the currency of energy, right? It's what is made in our mitochondria to produce energy that allows us to do the work that all of our cells, all of our muscles, all of our systems use. And depressed patients showed a much greater level of impaired mitochondrial respiration or generation of energy in the mitochondria and increased oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, of course, leads to inflammation as well. So there was a study in Psychiatry and Research 2021 that said that mitochondrial function is significantly lower in patients with major depression compared to controls. So the translation, your brain just isn't sad, it's starving. It needs energy. It cannot function properly. Okay, so how do we fix this? And this is where a ketogenic diet comes in. So the ketogenic diet, of course, utilizes fat for energy instead of sugar for energy. It's essentially a low carbohydrate diet. Most of the ketogenic diets are under 30 grams of protein. I'm sorry, grams of carbohydrate per day. And some of the more serious or significant, almost sort of prescription strength ketogenic diets are under 20 grams of carbohydrate per day. But the ketogenic diet does several things. One, it's very efficient at reducing insulin levels. It also reduces lower or creates lower inflammation. It also increases brain-derived neurotropic factor, or BDNF, which is very important to development of neurons. And it also provides ketones, which is an efficient anti-inflammatory brain fuel. So a couple studies that I just want to mention quickly. Don't want to go too deep into these, but in Frontiers in Psychiatry in 2022, ketogenic diets improved mood and anxiety in animal models and early human trials. In Nutrition Neuroscience 2019, ketogenic diets upregulate mitochondrial biogenesis, or the creation of new mitochondria, and energy production in the brain. So these are just several examples of some of the things that I just mentioned. So again, just to recap, the ketogenic diet reduces insulin, lowers inflammation, increases brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor, or BDNF, and provides ketones for the brain to use. And there was also a really interesting case study of bipolar disorder. So after keto intervention, the patient's symptoms dramatically improved and medication reliance dropped. So showing how ketogenic diets can improve depression without medication. All right, and finally, why this isn't mainstream yet. So the mental health model is built on medications and neurotransmitters. Medications, just like much of the other areas of medicine, Western medicine focuses on, we diagnose a problem and throw a medication at it. Well, we need to do something different. And so, the biggest problem is the mental health model is built on medication and neurotransmitters. But if the root cause is energy failure, or the failure to create adequate energy for the brain to function on, then no SSRI in the world is going to fix that. So imagine if you keep putting air into a flat tire without patching the hole, you're never going to fix the ride. And that's what treating depression without addressing metabolism actually looks like. So here are my final thoughts. We've blamed brain chemistry for decades, but what if the deeper issue is fuel and insulin resistance and inflammation and mitochondrial failure? These don't just affect your waistline, they affect your will to live. And ketogenic diets may offer more than just symptom relief. They offer a metabolic reset for the brain. And we definitely need more research, but we already have enough evidence to take it very, very seriously. So this has been episode 88 of the Obesity Project. What if depression is a metabolic problem? What if it's not just in your head? So don't forget, here on the Obesity Project, we're cutting through the myths, getting to the root. Thank you so much for watching. Now you understand that depression and mental health significantly linked to insulin resistance, along with all the other things like type 2 diabetes and heart disease and kidney failure and cancer and all of these other areas, PCOS, low testosterone, all of this stuff. But so now you get a deeper understanding how metabolism and energy production actually factors into major depressive disorder. So stay tuned, because coming up next, episode 89, we're going to talk about the autism keto link that no one is talking about. We're going to explore how ketogenic diets may support behavior and cognitive improvements in children with autism spectrum disorder. So Once again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, share, and comment. Hit that subscribe notification. Hit that bell notification. Let's get the word out. And thank you so much for watching.